This morning I was setting up the studio to run a little film on clocks for Modular, and that is things like clock pulses that control timing of everything in Modular, or most things in Modular, including things like sequencers or effects or triggers and gates and whatnot. And I realized as I was setting it up, this would probably be a great opportunity to actually talk about the setup. Another part of my How I Do series is how I do this exact nightmare of setting up all the camera equipment that I've been talking about over the last couple of weeks. This is a grueling setup for me because, again, things are not exactly static the way I want them. Everything still kind of floats a little bit. And that's what cripples me in a lot of ways when I'm trying to decide how to film things or what angles to use or what lighting to use, because I'm not a film guy. I don't make films, really. I mean, I shoot a lot of videos for YouTube, but I'm not a filmmaker by any means. I don't have the eye for it, I don't have the brain for it, and I certainly don't have the patience for it, which is proven by the fact that it's taken me about 2 hours to film this little intro to how I set things up. It's ridiculous how much time it takes me to do this stuff. Anyway, finally, after a couple of hours of messing around with different angles and different lights and different ideas of how to film this thing about clocks, I think I have what I'm going to do today. And so let's talk about what this is here. Starting with, of course, you have the new rig here that I have, the little U-shaped rig that just kind of stands up over the top of the Modular. I have it jacked up all the way to the top, as far vertical as it can go. And you can see, I think from this angle over here, you can see it really rides up perfectly with the top of the Modular. Even at the highest level, like I have the micro camera right now aimed over there at Renee, which is in the top rightmost part of the setup here. And then down here on the bottom, I have the iPhone with the Blackmagic camera app, and I have this camera aimed with the lenses on this side of the iPhone. I have it aimed at the Pamela's Pro Workout, which is going to be my first clock that I planned to talk about today. Off here to the left is also where the monitor would be normally, but right now it's over there. So over on this side is the micro studio camera from Blackmagic, the new guy. I have the Leica lens. It's the 15 millimeter. It's got a wide angle. What this is capturing is most of Renee and Tempe and out to the side there, and some of Symphonian, because Renee is one of my subjects for today's film relating to clocks, because you can see it pretty visually. And then lighting, of course. I do have the light sticks. You can see one light stick is up there. It's kind of tuned to blue right now. And I have this one turned off. I had it turned on for red, for my classic red and blue, but this wound up being a little over-dominating for the bright white panels of Pamela's, for instance. So I opted to just turn on this little side LED over here, which just splashes white across the left side of the rack. And then I have house lights. Like I actually have incandescents up in the ceiling that are dimmed down to about 30%, and it's just kind of splashing a little bit of warmth across the rack. So to me, this looks really good, and I'm going to color grade it in DaVinci anyway, so hopefully it'll wind up looking at least presentable. But that's the last of the things that I worry about, is whether it looks good. What I really want to do is be able to capture all the things that I want to capture without having to do it over and over and over again. I have my shotgun mic, which is a Rode right here. Just this shotgun mic will aim at my mouth, because the only thing I do plan to record when I do this film is iPhone and micro. This is where I'm going to sit right here, and I'm going to be talking about clocks from here. And the rough part of all this is that this setup took me about 2.5 hours to decide on. And that's probably the worst part of this whole thing, including all of the other videos I make. Is the worst part is the setup. Because I think I've got the audio part down. I've done audio for 30 years, so I'm not worried about audio so much. But these cameras and these angles, and normally I'm a shoot the room kind of guy and capture all the people in the room kind of guy. That's my history. That's what I think I'm better at. So when I start doing these close-ups and these colors, because Modular is just beautiful. I want to capture how beautiful Modular looks on the cameras. I really want it to be good. I really want it to be impressive, but I know it's not. I have to accept that that's the way it is. We call it good enough out here on the internet, I guess. Here's one thing I will say, and I'm going to be pretty confident about this, and I probably shouldn't be this cocky, but I am going to be confident about this, is that my films are definitely better than 90% of the ones I watch out there. People that don't worry about focus, they don't worry about colors, they film with their camera mic and they rush the thing up there. They don't even edit. They don't even edit out their uhs and ums or hold on, I need to take a drink. You'll hear them drinking water while they're talking. Why not take 2 seconds to edit that out? I don't understand. But that's another topic. I'll rant about that, I guess, somewhere else. So this is setting up the visuals side of things. I guess now to wrap this all up in one big tamale, I think I'll talk about the audio as well in this video, just to get it done. So how do I do the audio part of all of this hookup? So let me talk about the one thing that seems to be a big mystery on the world of Eurorack internet YouTube videos is nobody really seems to talk about how they get their sound out of their rack into the DAW and over the stream. This is a thing that I still struggle with because, again, I can't find anybody else's examples of exactly how to do this, which is the thing I need. I need you to tell me exactly how to do this. So I'm going to tell you exactly how I do it. And it may be wrong, but that's okay. I'm going to start with the first reveal is that I did just pick up the WMD Performance Mixer. I don't plan to talk in depth about this right now. The only thing that you need to know is that sound comes in, right? Sound comes in from all over the modular. Sound will come into all these input jacks. And then you mix it here in the mixer like you would any other mixer. And then the sound comes out of the mixer to a module or directly out to your DAW, however you feel like doing it. I'm summing it all up in this thing called Outs by IntelliGel. I've had this since day one. It's one of my day one purchases, is this IntelliGel Outs. So it has 2 little stereo ins here. It has a little pot here for what comes out the mains versus phones. So there's another pot down here for how to adjust the phone's volume if you have headphones plugged in here. For this case, we're using the mains out here. So these 2 1/4-inch jacks, a left and a right, come out of this big long cable here, which goes all the way across the room, which now we'll go set up and show you. And those 2 1/4-inch cables run down across the floor of the house here, just over to my stage box. And this stage box, I think it's probably channels 5 and 6 over here. And then from here, the stage box goes over to my mixer. And then out of the stage box comes this snake of 16 different cables that plug into the mixer, which is the Mackie down here, the Mackie mixer, into 5 and 6 here. And then this Mackie mixer also has all these outputs to my speakers in the room so I can annoy my neighbors. And of course the headphone amp that's up here. And it is an audio interface plugged into the Mac, which also gives me 32 channels input from this studio. So I'm pretty happy with this setup as far as audio goes because I've got a ton of keyboards, I've got a piano, I've got a modular, and a bunch of microphones. I have plenty of room, at least right now, I have plenty of room with 32 channels to record anything I want. Before I move on to the DAW, there's one more piece of equipment that I want to talk about. It was a Hail Mary at the time, and it's turned out to be a pretty amazing little tool. And that is this TASCAM DR60D Mark II. It's a 4-track recorder. What I use it for a lot is when I'm doing things in the DAW, like when I'm doing recordings of the screen or using Pro Tools or Logic. I cannot be recording while I'm showing things like bussing and effects and plugins and things like that, trying to change things. So I literally have to record my voice and the sound coming out of the DAW onto this little device here, and then import this into either Pro Tools or Logic or directly into DaVinci and use it as my voiceover and stereo audio track here. This is where Modular would plug in, and this is where my voice mic would plug in. And then on this side is a little 1/8-inch headphone out, which could be an 1/8-inch out, stereo out to streaming or anything else like that as well. But the really cool part about this is that you can mount the Blackmagic camera right to the top of this and put this on the tripod, and now you've got this high quality audio recorder with your big camera rig to go anywhere. and I've used it a couple of times on various projects, like wandering around with the, testing out the Blackmagic camera and its lenses. But I use it mostly here with Modular because the real quick backstory of this guy is I picked it up when I moved all my Modular down to the back of the house. I wanted to set up a Modular station in the back of the house, which was of course really far away from my mixer, which is underneath this desk here. And I still needed a way to record stereo audio coming out of the Modular and my voiceover. Did some research and found out that this little TASCAM works flawlessly. And the reason I'm showing this now is because I'm about to switch to it. So I'm pretty sure the audio quality of this is going to change, because right now I'm using an SM58. And I'm about to use my Rode NT1 plugged into this guy to wrap this up. We are now recording to the TASCAM portable recorder, the 4-track recorder. I've got 1 track for the voice, and I've got 2 tracks for the Modular. You can hear that here. That's the Modular coming from across the room. You can't see my hands anymore. I gotta stop pointing at things. But we are in Pro Tools, which is my DAW of choice. I use it a lot. I use Logic a little bit, mostly when there are plugins that are not AAX. For Pro Tools, I'll use Logic still. I like Cardinal VST. I don't think it works for Pro Tools yet. But anyway, here we are in Pro Tools. And one thing I do want to mention, coming from talking about the TASCAM real quick, is since this is a configuration video, I do want to point out that it took me a couple of minutes to reconfigure my audio in and out. I had to reconfigure my mixer a little bit to be able to take audio in from the DAW. And that I do that usually through my Mackie mixer here. I had to turn on this little path, I guess, to go to my monitor out, which then goes to the Mackie left and right on channel 3 and 4. And to hear what that kind of sounds like, let me switch back over to Pro Tools. Let me turn, this is gonna be a little loud, hold on a moment. So that's, again, the Modular just pulsing away. And if I turn off these routings, you'll see that it quiets down. So what it is it really is, this is my headphone amplifier output from the DAW from here. That's this headphones output right here. And I want to split that signal and send some of it over to the monitor as well, so we can record on the external recorder. That's all that is. It's not really anything super fancy, but I did struggle with figuring this out because, again, I'm not terribly good at all this stuff. And here's the 2 chunks of recording I just did. This was all moving around the room, showing the rack. And then this is the voiceover for the TASCAM section that I just did a moment ago. And now we're sitting here in Pro Tools talking about how I would wire all these things up. Now, in a different video, I will talk about actually how to build an entire session and use buses and routings and inputs and outputs and all that. I don't want to make this video too damn long, so I'm just going to show you that the interface is the Mackie, and I'm taking channels 5 and 6 in, and then out of this particular channel, I go to a bus called key sub. And all that is this guy down here. And what I do on this channel is I just do a little bit of extra compression. I don't have it right now because this is a brand new session. I only have my voiceover has a little bit of little EQ and a little boost on it, so I can hear it when I'm doing the recording. Otherwise, the rack is usually recorded pretty quiet. I usually go for around -18 to -20 on the input from the Modular. And then it gives me a lot of headroom inside the track to mess with it. And here you'll see there's the main Modular, and then I also have an input for the left and right input for the System 100, the Behringer System 100 modules, and then a third one for the Mini Mod, which I haven't even talked about yet because I just haven't had time. So anyway, so this is what I do. If I want to start recording a Modular session, I will arm both the voiceover and the audio. Let me turn that down so we don't have to listen to the clock tick. And then I just record, and I walk over to, you can't see my hands, but I walk over to the Modular, I sit down, and I just ramble on for hours until audio is done. And then when it is done, I can actually show one of my previous sessions, I guess. Looking back at the Modular Journey Season 3 Part 2, when I picked things back up a year later, this is what this kind of looks like. It's usually just a voiceover track, and then it's usually the audio from Modular. Faster than... Wow, that's loud. Hold on a moment. Let me turn that way the fuck down. Faster than the... So this is kind of what that sounds like. Turned way the hell down because it was too loud just a moment ago. But just the audio side of it... This is extremely interesting. Anyway... And so that's what you get. You get my voiceover, and you get the modular track. And then, of course, the very last thing I do with any of these things is I will then bounce out to a WAV file, and then that WAV file I take over to DaVinci on the PC with the 3090 card in it, and I will edit the living hell out of a video. So it starts out as an hour long. You can see here it's an hour long take. Ends up being a 15-minute video usually, cutting out a whole lot of ums and uhs and stupid things and misspeaking. And so it winds up being an entire process. This really is a lot of process, and I don't like any of it. But that's kind of it as far as on the DAW side, getting sound into the DAW and then doing what you do in the DAW and then getting it out. Where you can then watch that other video about how I edit video. I think that's all I have to say about this. If there are any questions, definitely ask, and I'll see if I can answer them. I do have an upcoming project to document how I actually set up these projects to begin with from a blank template or from a blank slate to setting up all these masters and buses and channels and whatnot. So stay tuned for that, I guess. Anyway, thank you for watching.